that stereotype of golf is for rich old men is gone.
Right, Alex, Al, how are we? We all good? Start with you, Alex.
Yeah,
this could get
very
really
well.
confusing.
Yeah.
How are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, not so bad. Keen to get going. And I'm good to go. How are you?
Yes, very good, thank you. Al, how are you, mate?
Good.
All good, thank you. Surviving the heat. Dyson fan is on full blast.
Yeah, agreed. I've got mine on next to me. I definitely needed it this morning, that's for sure. Now, Alex, I really appreciate you joining. The reason I wanted to talk to you about this is I'm a massive golfer myself. I know that there's a couple of people in the team, including Al, who's on it, who's joined us as well. We're all golfers, we enjoy it, but there's an element of the game that we wanted to dig into a bit more about the business side of the game. You're a friend of mine, and I'd love to dig into a couple of topics with you. But first of all, just start by telling us a little bit about Golf Swing Systems, about yourself, where you came from, and how you managed to get to the position you're in now as marketing manager of Golf Swing Systems.
Yeah, so Golf Swing Systems, basically we specialise in golf simulators. So things like SkyTrack systems, TrackMan, flight scope systems, and basically we've been going for almost 20 years, I believe. It's a well-established business, and we sort of sit as we like to think we're the market leaders in terms of expertise on golf tech. So we also sell everything from like a £5 training aid all the way up to a £30,000 simulator. So it's a really strange business model. There is that really low-end sort of quick fix training aids, things like molded golf grips, swing training aids, things like that. Up to the midpoint where you've got things like SkyTrack and FlightScope Mevo Plus, which are like portable launch monitors. And then you've got the top end, you've got things like TrackMan, and we do full installations and even what we call golf cabins. So those are where we will build a building in your garden to put a golf simulator in. And we stand as the guys in that space where we can do it from start to finish. So we can do from foundations all the way up to the roof. So it's a pretty cool business to be a part of. I've been working in golf for a few years. So I started at a company called Golf Bidder, was there for a couple of years, and then came over to Golf Swing Systems early May. So I've only been here about 3 months, but getting to grips with the company quite quickly, and good to go.
Yeah, I think you've got a really good extensive background, and I might actually touch on the Golf Bidder side of things, because that's where initially we started having a conversation around, and I think it was back then that I just started getting into golf. I really wanted to understand the game a little bit more, and equally the business side of it, and about there's the long saying of business gets done on a golf course, all that kind of stuff, which I think we're going to dig into actually as part of your marketing strategy. But just again, what does your day look like as a marketing manager at the moment, and kind of what is it that you're doing day by day? Because I know that the golf as a game has changed so much over the last few years, and we've had a massive influx into the game. Just what does your normal day look like at the moment?
Yeah, so a normal day for me is a little bit different to most marketing managers, because we're still a relatively small company. Obviously, you definitely can't class us as a startup because we've been going for ages. But it's a pretty small, compact company. So I do the job of effectively a larger marketing team. So, my day could include anything from demoing products to customers. So I have to sit as kind of like an expert on the tech. And then, designing and distributing marketing materials. So things like, EDM, email direct marketing. The social media side of things, I run all of that. Even filming YouTube videos, working with partnerships on YouTube. It's a very broad day. I have to write the blogs for the website maintenance. It's a pretty full on role. It's kind of I struggle to call myself a marketing manager these days. I think it almost comes down as just a marketing generalist, I have to kind of fulfill most of the roles in the business in terms of market output. But yeah, ordinary day. For instance, today, first thing on my agenda was building an email for a partnership we have with Surrey Chambers. And then I did a demo for some customers, and I'm filming a podcast. And then this afternoon, I've got to get some social media content and an email out. I've got to find that from somewhere. So, yeah, it's a busy role, but it's well rounded and it's fulfilling. So yeah, not much to complain about.
Yeah, I know you weren't at Golf Swing Systems at the time when we first met, but equally, there was when I first picked up the game back in at the start of COVID and the first lockdown released, and then I really started to swing a golf club and took a real interest in it. Mm-hmm. I wasn't the only one that swamped towards the game then. There was a big swamp towards the game. So what changed in your eyes from then? Because I know you've been involved in the game a lot longer than I have, but what changed? What trends did you see happen? And just talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so like you said, I've been in the game for a long time. I've been playing for probably 15 years, and I've been involved in it from a business standpoint for, I was sort of pre-lockdown, I came into the business, and then throughout lockdown I've seen the changes. And what I've seen is a broadening of the type of people who play golf. That stereotype of, golf is for rich old men is gone. It's filled with, younger players, men and women, more sort of socially diverse as well. That sort of trope that they have to be well off to join a golf club is fast evaporating with the induction of things like iGolf from England Golf. Being able to maintain a handicap without being a membership, member paying, a paying member at a golf course. you being able to do that is opening up the game to a lot more people and allowing them to get more into the game. Being able to hold a handicap means you can then compete in competitions. You can compete against your friends. It's a real diversification of the people in golf. And that then means the marketing has also diversified as well. There's been a huge shift towards social marketing, because the one place you find all kinds of people is social media. So there's been a huge shift towards that. There's also, there's been a large shift in terms of the products that are coming out, with a lot more focus on things like budget options. Options for people who want to start the game. For instance, you see all over YouTube, you see reviews of package sets from the main brands. If you look back, the package sets that main brands came out of, they were a joke. They weren't good golf clubs, and now they're coming out with effectively just unnamed versions of their premium golf clubs. So people are getting access to better clubs, better equipment, and with social media and YouTube, they're getting better instruction, better content. It's been a big shift towards the social side of things in terms of the people who are playing and the way they consume their content.
Do you know what? I was just going to say, I love hearing you talk about the fact that the game's really diversified in terms of the demographic of people playing it. A really good example of that, it wasn't myself that played it, but I had a really good friend, and from start to finish, by the way, this is a great example of how it's such a diverse sport now. So I've got a friend, he is a site manager, so works in construction.
Okay.
Number one, great example of how it's not like you said, kind of rich older men. It's kind of working class and like normal people. He played a Trevor Nelson charity event. Okay, so number two, somebody from like an urban music background who's actually then partnered with a golf club to do a charity event, which shows you the kind of people that are going to a golf club. Third part was what I loved about the event. On every single hole, they basically had like either loud music or like a small kind of DJ set, and then there was like refreshments and stuff on the way around. I mean, can you imagine seeing something like that at any golf club?
Yeah.
10 years ago, it would have been, people would have laughed at you, thought, hold on, you've taken something, or what's going on with you? But it just shows you how the game has moved on, attitudes and I guess kind of thought processes within the game have moved on. And look, I think it's two things, right? Firstly, I think attitudes have just improved. And it's not that kind of clique that used to have, the kind of very stereotypical golf community. But also, look, people have really started to commoditize the sport, which you touched on as well, in loads of different ways. And actually, people have realised, well, look, if we just don't want to be a club full of the same people just about scraping by every year and having to pump a lot of investment to keep this thing going, let's open up to more people who are going to have access, want to invest, want to play, and actually make it a really successful business model by opening ourselves up to a wider demographic of people. So I guess that's the only thing I'll kind of add, that just a real life example of exactly what you touched on there, Alex.
Yeah, no, I think that is a really, really solid example of people getting into the game who you maybe wouldn't have expected to be in the game. But even in this company, Steve Joy, who owns the company, he's the main director. He comes from a construction sort of building, sort of salt of the earth background, and he got into golf, and golf presented him with this idea in terms of making simulators a mainstream option. And it built this business based off of just wanting to make golf more accessible to other people. So it is a driving force behind the game nowadays, I think.
Yeah, I think we touched on it previously before the podcast, but you have got certain elements of a B2B and a B2C element to your business, right? And I think we're quite hot on this topic at the moment in talking about, are they actually very similar to each other than we actually initially thought? So from a marketing strategy, how do you differentiate what your B2B marketing strategy looks like over your B2C? Because I know you do very small-ended items, value items, like you say, and equally you do full house fit-outs that could potentially be for a company as a social space, which I suppose we'll get into in a moment. But just talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so traditionally in marketing, B2C and B2B look very different. And I know, having watched some of your podcasts and having spoken to other people in the business as well, they are melding more into one marketing sort of output. They're looking more and more similar. But in our business, it's actually kind of the opposite. So the fact that we've got such a wide variety of products means there's a very different user experience for individual sections of our business. So we kind of have two separate side of things. So we've got the golf shop, and we've got the golf simulators. And the golf shop is where people can buy things with one click. Things like launch monitors, things like training aids, things like golf balls. It's very, very varied. And the goal with that, as you will hear from the majority of marketers you speak to, is having a fast user experience. So there's not too many clicks. A streamlined experience, so they don't feel like they can get lost on the web page. All sorts of stuff like that. We mentioned about UI in terms of like the pre side of this podcast. Having interactive product links, all sorts of stuff like that. That is very much a part of our product shop. But in terms of the golf simulators and the golf cabins, the higher conversion rate for us is actually a slower user experience. So this is more the B2B side. We do sell B2C in terms of people buying simulators for their homes. But for instance, if you're a golf pro or a person who wants to buy these much larger ticket items, the marketing looks different because we are relying on that trust and that face-to-face side of things. If we can get people into our demo room, or we can get them on the phone to one of our team, the likelihood of them converting is so much higher because it's all based around trust and all based around that expertise that we have. So we actually see more of a separation between B2B and B2C. B2B becomes a lot more of a relationship. You're looking to build, we're looking to have a site visit, we're looking to have a conversation with the golf club, and it's all about having that time with the customer for us. So it probably looks a little bit different to what you were expecting me to say. No,
it doesn't, and that's kind of the reason why I asked, is because for every business it's different. We spoke to a couple of businesses recently that operate a B2B and a B2C angle, but they operate it completely differently, from a supermarket angle to someone that markets for a B2B angle, but on TikTok. So it's very, very different. And that's why I kind of wanted to touch on it, because I know you have the two elements to your business. I think Al might have something to go on, but I want to touch on equally your ambassador program that I know you mentioned to me previously, about that's working with PGA professionals from am I right in saying a B2B and a B2C angle, a combined version? So a B2C would be recommending your products, this, that and the other as training aids.
Yeah. So basically the ambassador program is really, it's very much in its infancy. It's still sort of growing as we speak. But what it is, for instance, say you're a pro who comes to us to buy a simulator, or The smaller product option that people are buying in spades at the moment is the stack system that Matt Fitzpatrick used to get faster before the US Open.
Okay.
People, they're buying them at a rate of knots, and so basically, if they come to us and they are giving us money effectively, we are quite passionate here about giving something back to the pros. So by developing a relationship with them, having a chat, getting to know them, we then have the option of offering what we're calling our ambassador program. So it's a referral program, similar to what you'll see on Instagram, Gymshark. They have them all. Use code whatever to and it ends up with them getting a commission in the sale. But without our the difference between our program and there's no obligation for them to purchase anything from us. All it is really is building that trust, like we said, with the customers. So the customers trust the pro trusts us. So then there's that link, and they're able to refer us to the customer with that sort of certainty that we're going to provide a good product.
Anything to add, Al, before we move on?
No, I think the only thing I was going to ask you was really interesting what you said about the difference between the B2C and the B2B approach. And I guess I've more a statement rather than a question initially, was that I guess it kind of makes sense that with the shop, because it's more B2C focused, it's quicker turnaround, lower value transactions. Therefore, I guess it's more probably like mile wide, inch deep in terms of that marketing strategy, because it needs to be a quick hit to get a quick purchase. Whereas with the B2B stuff, using your words, they're much higher ticket value items. Therefore, it's a much more informed purchasing decision, and there's a lot more riding on it. So therefore, actually, that journey, not just the sales but the marketing journey, is a lot longer.
Yeah.
And it's the opposite. It's that inch wide, mile deep, and it's kind of really kind of adding value at every stage to get them to understand the value of you, your business, the relationship, and actually using your words, building that partnership. And it's not a quick thing, and you have to get each stage of that right over a period of time.
Yeah, that's the reason we're so happy to have like a demo facility in our HQ. So we can get people in to actually visit and see the product in action. So they get that real tangible value added by seeing the product in action. And then we always try and get people out to their business, so we get to have that relationship at that end. So we get to have we get to see where we're going to be putting the simulator. We can give them real time advice. So building that sort of longer partnership with the clubs and with the pros and stuff like that. Like you said, value added is a really good way of putting it, because we love to get people into our demo room in our HQ. We love going out and visit them on site, because they get to see that value added in real time. So in the demo room, they get to come out and actually demo the products for themselves, seeing them in action. And like, for instance, if they're a professional and they're buying a golf simulator, they're going to get to see the quality of the screen, the quality of the projectors, all sorts of stuff like that. And then going out to their site, we're going to get to give them real-time advice. We're going to see the space and actually build a simulator for them, because we try to make the word we like to use around here is bespoke. Like, we like to view every project as an individual and try to give the advice individually as well. So if say you're at one golf club and you ask for a swing room, the likelihood is it's going to be very different to a swing room built on the club, even if it's next door. They're going to be two different separate experiences, because they're different people and they want different things.
One thing I was going to ask quickly as well was that, like I said, the proof of concept is always going to be your biggest marketing tool. And obviously, that's why I said getting people in-house to kind of have a go on the demo system, actually seeing it, feeling it, trying it for themselves. You can't get more powerful than that in terms of proving the value of something. But I guess in terms of that initial hook, to actually get people to want to come to site, what kind of marketing tools are you putting in place to get that initial interest?
Yeah, so we've got a number of sort of avenues for that. The main thing, obviously, with those bigger ticket items, the main avenue for people coming into the demo room is the salesman. They are always encouraging it, but then we've also got things like we've got video adverts going live on social media. So things showing you've got the state-of-the-art simulator. We've got one of the things we've got here, which is technically a product that we can sell, but we've got it as a hook for the pros. Is we've got a big tilt putting platform. So there's only 3 in the UK, and this is the second one, and the other ones we installed. So they are, it's like a super rare product they can come and try. And they've got things like our Beat the Pro series on Instagram, which is where they can actually try and beat our resident pro on that, which is, it's kind of that sort of social proofing side of things. They get to see, if they get to be seen on that, they get to be seen as a pro who's in the space. And it's mainly, and the hook isn't necessarily like, we're not like offering a discount or anything for it. Like, you could offer, one of the things you could do, you could be like, if you come and test the simulator, we'll give you 5% off the top price. We don't really want to do that because the 5% of 30 grand is still 1,500 quid you're giving away. But the hook is, if you get to see how good these things are, you're going to be able to make an informed decision. And the other thing is, they're all so different. The product, like the launch monitors we sell, some of them are radars, some of them are photometric displays, some of them are simulators as well. Some of them are just giving you pure data. It's all about explaining to them that the difference is going to be quite stark, and they're going to have a favourite. And it's like test driving a car. You wouldn't want to buy a car without test driving it. So the hook is always just knowing that you're going to enjoy the product.
Yeah, it sounds like that is almost like two stages of that proof of concept. You've got almost virtual initially, like you talk about the videos and stuff like that. Somebody saying, okay, I can't physically try it right now, but I can see it in action. I can see somebody else trying it, and you know what? I like the look of that. Then next stage is, right, come in and physically try it for yourself, and actually you'll see in real life what that virtual representation looked like. Really interesting, mate. And I guess it sounds like the core of it is always the quality of the product and the quality of the value it adds. And as long as you can show that initially virtually, to then get that hook to get somebody to see that physically, really, if the product as it is, which we know it is, it kind of sells itself, right?
Yeah, cool. I just wanted to touch a little bit on community. I know that we touched on that. I think we have touched on that a little bit in your ambassador program. But the way you invite people in to take on the pro, let them feel like they're in, they're part of something. And that's equally what I wanted to tie that into of your, using golf as an outlet for mental health. Now, I know mental health is quite close to your heart. You don't have to go into the reasons why, but if you could go into a little bit as to, business is done on the golf course, and it's an outlet for people to use the golf course as a way to express themselves in a different way. But it'd be great to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it is quite close to my heart, and I actually don't mind sharing it just so people have some concept. I've got a lot of friends who have had struggles with mental health and who have ended up losing those struggles and stuff like that. So it stands as quite a passion of mine, making sure that people have an outlet. And one of the best ways we've seen that being used in golf is it's an opportunity to that, like, as golf as a course, you get to be outside, you get to be with your friends, you get to be exercising. But a lot of people, especially in the city, like in London, they don't have that luxury. They are working long hours. They are, they have to be tied to their desk for quite a long time, and it means that they maybe don't have that outlet, and it can then become quite suffocating, and then issues can occur. But one of the things you have, and we've seen it we have had installations put in London. We actually had one on the 42nd floor of a skyscraper in London. So we've gone high and we've gone low, and the marketing was easy. It was all the highest tee box in London. It's great, but yeah, the opportunity that offers is they don't have to leave the office to have that exercise, which does wonders for your mental health. Having that ability to sort of get some endorphins, get a bit of a release going. You get that social aspect as well. All of these things, all like launch monitors and golf simulators where you can play on the course, they can all be done with your friends. They are also, there's the community aspect. You can, especially with things like TrackMan, you can play games and tournaments against other people around the world, which brings in that social aspect that we're seeing even in the gaming environment, where you can be playing with people across the world, but you're playing the same game, so you have that element of community. And it's all about, installing into, say, for instance, a golf club. It doesn't seem like something on the face of it that's going to offer much of a community value. It's just a thing. It's a tool that a golf club have, but in reality, it's a tool that a golf club have that means golf becomes accessible to people more often throughout the year. They can practice with their friends. They can spend that time, and then from a mental health perspective, if you're exercising with your friends, you're spending that time with them. it makes it more likely that conversation is going to happen, which could eventually save someone's life. So it's something I'm quite passionate about. You can probably tell, but I think these things they look like a luxury purchase, and they are at the core of it. They are a luxury purchase, but they can offer a real benefit, especially in the business world. It's like, imagine that you're working a 10-hour day, but you can break it up in the middle with half an hour on a golf simulator. It just makes that a lot less intimidating, doesn't it?
It does. Mm-hmm.
It's similar to like the lunchtime gym run, isn't it? That's like another way people doing it. It's horses for courses, right? Not everyone likes the gym, understandably, right? Whereas a lot of people love golf, but it's about access to it. And look, couldn't agree with you more, right? I think we touched on really early actually about George asking how have you seen maybe trends and things adapting and evolving post pandemic. And actually, I think the pandemic was something that really highlighted people's mental health, because I guess there were two things. Firstly, a lot of people were stuck in four walls for a lot more time. So people kind of proactively had to really actually look after themselves, because when you're busy day to day, you're commuting, travelling, the school run, all those sorts of things. You're naturally out and about a bit more to get that change of speed. Whereas when you're stuck at home, you're thinking, oh my God, like I'm getting real cabin fever. But also that kind of gave people an opportunity to reset and think, okay, well look, what do I like doing? What does help me cope with certain situations? What does help me reset? And actually gave people that kind of stopgap to then start maybe some new habits. And a lot of people will look to continue that in post pandemic. And I know for me personally, we've all said we all like picking up a club and kind of having a go around the course. But it really honed into me how much golf helps me post pandemic. So I remember the first day, when the golf courses opened back up. And I was there 7 o'clock in the morning booking my tea time.
Let me out.
Even though I knew exactly that. And even though I knew it would be the worst round I've probably played in years, just to be outside, with somebody, having a chat, swinging a golf club, and in the whole, the kind of having a chat thing, because what it's like. You play some golf, but actually you're just having a really informal chat.
It's a long walk that's broken up by some. It's a long walk broken up by swinging a golf club about, and I've got a lot of parallels with you. It seems like I was very rooted in the same spot. When during the pandemic, me and my wife had only just moved back over from Belfast, so we were living in a one bed sort of 2 up 2 down little house. So there wasn't exactly a lot of space, but what it did have was a garden. And I had it's a little precursor to me working in golf simulators. I had a little tripod set up for my phone. I was hitting into a bed sheet that was pulled between my fence and my washing line, and it was all going great until I got a bit confident and hit a 4-iron into it that went straight through the bed sheet, and it bounced off a tree, it bounced off my neighbour's house, it bounced off my house, and luckily we got away with it. Nobody died, no windows were broken. But that was the end of my own home simulator experience, so I ended up having to come here and find a bit more of an official
You need to. I can't believe you didn't catch that on video. I've seen so many people do that on TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. I would love to have seen that.
The thing was, I didn't thin it through it or anything like that. I put it right through the middle of the bedsheet.
But at least it went straight.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to be on a golf course to get the benefit. And that's where these simulators come in. They offer a benefit year-round as well, because we all know too well that England and Britain doesn't really play ball in terms of weather for the majority of the time. Like at the moment, we can play around a golf every day if we want, but by the time a few weeks' time, it's going to be raining, and half the courses will shut. So, I think it's in terms of the mental health space, it's only a good thing that it's becoming more accessible.
Yeah, completely agree. Just to touch on it before we finish, I'm conscious of time, but we haven't really touched a little bit about the web shop side and how important that user experience is from a slick customer journey, right? I think marketers like yourself probably, you spend so much time getting people to your website. If the one thing that drives them away is a poor website, it needs to be addressed. Or a poor... Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, exactly, in our solution, a poor checkout.
Yeah. It's an interesting position to a lot of time to have this podcast, actually, because we are in the meaty end of launching a new website. We have launch dates in September. So obviously with IT and with web design, that launch date's probably going to be October. But we're hyper aware of that, and I'm hyper aware of that because it's a small team. I also do the website maintenance, so building product pages and shepherding people through the user experience is kind of part of my remit. And obviously you are at the tail end of that user experience, where you come in at the payments end and you streamline that final bit. But with the user experience, if you get to, even if we had a really slick website and we get through to the payment section of that and it falls apart, then that user experience as a whole needs to be evaluated as poor. You could have the best looking website in the world, and it's happened 100 times where you've seen products that look great on a website, but then you can't find the buy it now button. It's a nightmare. And in terms of the user experience, it's as important as anything in the web design. You have to make sure that people get from start to finish in a way that minimizes the chances of them falling off that path. And one of the main things as well that I don't think is mentioned that often is the number of clicks required. So I've been in multiple businesses now where the user experience hasn't been great, and the root cause is if you have to click 13, 14 times to get through to add to basket, there's a problem. So streamlining that and having I'm on the page, I can find the place I'm going to easy, I can buy it immediately. That's the perfect, isn't it? Yeah, that's the goal.
It's interesting, again, I'm just going to touch on the whole post-pandemic thing. So obviously post-pandemic, loads of people shifted to more online purchases because they had to, no shops were open. But in terms of that user experience as an analogy, it's a bit like if you went into a shop, say if you go to a supermarket, right? They're quite a good example of actually where finding something, that user experience should be fairly easy, because you look
see
up
the signposting, and
it's aisle 1, milk and eggs, aisle 2, meat and ready meals, whatever it is, right? And it's all clearly laid out. You're going down there. Whereas if you went into a store and there was no particular labelling or directions, you basically just got to hunt around finding it. And then by the time you found it, you then go to the till, and then there's like 5 people in front of you at the till, and the person's being a bit slow, and the till doesn't really quite work properly. It's exactly the same situation on the website. If you've got all those hurdles all the way along, just making it really hard, it just becomes a bit of a nightmare. And talk about us being at the tail end. It's a nightmare if you've got everything right up until that point, and it's like a sprinter doing 110-meter hurdles. They can have the best start, they can be 20 meters ahead of everyone else. If they fall over the final hurdle,
game over,
it means nothing.
No, I entirely agree. I think the thing with a payments platform, it can seem like an afterthought. It can seem like something where you're like, we just need to find a way of getting their money, and there are so many options now. You've got PayPal, Stripe, all sorts of different options. Sage Pay, all sorts of things yourselves. And the thing with it is, the key behind all of them needs to be, from a marketing perspective, we need to see a payment platform that is A, fast, and B, is again that trust aspect. It's secure. They can see that it is well designed and well monitored. Having things like, I don't know the technical terms for them, but security things, and making sure that it's approved by the FCA, all sorts of stuff like that. That kind of stuff is what we need to see from a marketing perspective. So, when you log onto a computer and then or onto a website, and it's suddenly the payment portal's a little bit dodgy looking, and you're a bit querying it gets a bit nervy.
Yeah, but that's why we're really big advocates, for example, stuff like Apple Pay and Google Pay, right?
It's trusted again, isn't it? It's trusted.
It's trust, because it's facial recognition, biometric. Also, there's an instant brand recognition of that. Arguably the two biggest brands in the world, right? Apple and Google. And if you can see that a website has basically been allowed to have their brand on their website, use their systems, well,
it must be pretty good,
pretty secure and pretty good. Yeah, exactly that. So it's amazing, even just from a kind of, like you said, a trust perspective. Actually, just seeing that aligned to the payment page makes you think, okay, yeah, this is good. I'm happy with that. Go through with it, nice and easy, on my mobile device, safe, secure, easy, checkout, and then one more conversion for Alex's shiny new website.
I think I heard something on a podcast once, and it was saying how in, I think it's around 8 clicks, you can buy a Tesla.
Yeah, that's the gold standard.
In 8 clicks, you can buy a car. Now, and at that point, you think, why does it take me more to buy a T-shirt?
Yeah,
and that's, I think, they are probably one of, if somebody asked me what my favourite e-com store ever was, it's probably Tesla. I've been on it a few times. I've looked at the journey. It's incredible. The things that you can do on it. Yeah. It's a phenomenal website. Like you say, I can buy a car in 8 clicks. That was unheard of 3-4 years ago.
It's mental, isn't it? Yeah.
So it's so important. It is really, really important. Look, we are unfortunately out of time, but I do want to give the listeners a little bit of perspective of where they can find you. So please let us know. Where can they find you on social media?
Where can they find us? Yeah. So you've got, obviously, on our website, golfswingsystems.co.uk, on social media, golf_swing_systems. If you type in Golf Swing Systems with spaces, it's still going to come up. Same thing on Facebook, same thing on Twitter. You're going to find us. And it's, just keep up to date. We're putting out a lot of social content, so you can stay up to date with us. I will let you know, my dog did feature on it recently. We're trying to make sure the social features everything social. So, so you can even get your dog content there. And keep up with us and keep an eye on the new website.
Look, I can hear someone swinging there, so I'm sure you're getting jealous. But I'll let I'll let you go. Look, Alex, Al, I really appreciate you taking the time to join. Cheers.
Yeah, no problem. Cheers. See ya.